Yes, Prasad.
Thank you, Pramod. As usual, whatever you said, one cannot forget. Each time we listen to you, there is something new. So,
Thank you.
In terms of the Yatri app,
Yeah.
in Bangalore,
Did you use?
Yeah,
Okay.
very much. In fact, I and Suma have been using it almost every other day.
Thank you, Suma.
We don't use other apps unless we don't find.
Yeah, of course, sir. The demand supply issues always. Yeah.
We don't mind waiting for some more time. So earlier we recall it was in Cochin, and now we have it in Bangalore.
Bangalore.
So we are seeing some interesting features, particularly of late. I think it is just about a week or 10 days. They've added another feature which is not visible to the end user. That is, it automatically chooses the faster option, which is normally in favor of the drivers.
Okay.
So as a default, so each time I book, I need to hit that drop down which is hidden, and I need to select. I need multiple drivers to come up so that I can select the one that I want. Could be closer or could be less. Cost effective and all of those. So that is one. So I see a small creep of operating in the other zone where it is more driver friendly. So I feel some of these things, if they make it available even to the end users to choose some sort of a default setting, each time that is happening. Okay, anyway, that would be a complaint.
No. The reason why is there is, I don't know whether anybody talked to you about +1 thinking, or when we think about something at scale, we don't, large society, existing habits and behaviors are very set. Your habit, every day waking up, whether some people work out, some people don't work out, some people do. All these habits are very well set. And nobody wants to change their habits and things, right? So it's very important that the current habits of drivers, unfortunately because of their experience with Uber, Ola and so on, is somewhat in the negative zone. So I think we really wanted to encourage them to really realize it's their app. It's the Namma, that means mine in Canada, a Namma app. So really providing more features to provider. Consumer has been pampered generally. So I think that's why I think that over extra care for providers to come.
So an extended question. So what is this journey of Yatri itself as an app across India? Maybe since you're involved in it,
so
mobility.
Mobility. So if you look at urban mobility means taxi booking and all the bus booking, transport bus, metro. If you combine, Uber today does 3%, Uber across India does less transaction every day than Delhi Metro alone does every day. So you can see India's, forget Bombay's best and train, don't even combine them. It's like the amount of people who every day buy ticket and travel, whether it's a pass-based travel or a daily ticket-based travel, doesn't matter how you're traveling, is so high that we sometimes think, no, Uber has solved the problem. Uber has not solved the problem. Actually, if you look at urban mobility, it's not solved at all. So Kochi was the first effort to actually unify. Again, you will keep hearing this terminology, unify. So it was an underlying unifying protocol called Beacon Protocol. That effort was towards unifying metro. And Kochi was very good because Kochi had water metro, train metro, private buses, auto rickshaws, and taxis are not one because it's a mostly left-leaning state, right? It's, background is all communist government background. They have multiple unions, and they don't want to join Uber, Ola because they're very heavily unionized. Because of that, they all wanted to, but they want to be discovered as a driver. I want to be discovered by you because you want a trip. I am around you. But unless you come out and see me, you can't see me. But how do you digitally discover? Right? That was a key. Instead of one platform capturing both sides, one platform listing the driver and getting the consumer, right? That's how Uber, Amazon work. It's what's called a two-sided market. We wanted to break that. So we started with Kochi. Now it's gone all over Kerala. So actually we are showing off some of that in G20, in Kerala G20 meetings. We are showing off some of this, how we could do. By the way, there's tremendous interest. Some pilots possibly in France and so on, even developed nations are very, very keen to do it because Europeans don't like American companies. They have been throwing out Uber and all that thing, and they don't know what else to do. Okay, we threw Uber out, but we don't know what else to do, right? So we are giving an alternate, saying it's an open source, decentralized way to achieve the same purpose. As long as the driver has a smartphone or digital, and I am digital, and we are on the internet, there must be a way to discover you, right? And that way is what is open source protocol is called, right? And we are doing it in, when we launched here, we have not even done any ads. You won't see any ads because it's still in very much a beta or a under trial in Bangalore. But drivers have discovered themselves. And they have been telling their friends drivers, and 30,000, 35,000 auto rickshaw drivers have signed up in the last 2 months themselves. And they are also figuring out, this is another Uber, or is it, how does it work? And so there's a lot of effort going to educate to them, saying that no, it's just you and the consumer. Okay, there is nobody in the, really? I get all the money? And all like that, they're still figuring it out, how it works, right? But it's expected that it will go under ONDC like effort, or a national effort, under all the smart city mission across all the cities, a unified mobility network. Things we have not even seen yet to come is amazing. That's why every day all of us are excited. We're saying we did in the last 12 years so much, but we haven't done so much more. So we are yet to do so much more. So we are going to, you will see a national effort, Prasad, very soon in the coming year. And this is election year, heavily election year. And next year is ending with Lok Sabha, so maybe a little tricky. Sometimes it's always tricky, election year, but just happen. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask for one.
Okay, then we can wind up. Yeah.
So, just to let the audience know, where you spoke about Yatri, you'll find the app as Namma Yatri on the Play Store. So, you should probably be looking for that.
In case you want in Bangalore, you can install Namma Yatri and take auto. Be guaranteed that you can be satisfied that there is no middleman taking the cut. All the money goes to the auto rickshaw driver directly. Okay. Yeah.
So Pramod, I'm going to ask a question on behalf of the audience. I'm just assuming that I'm a participant over here. So you spoke about infrastructure, then all of us are sitting and learning. What's the connection?
Oh, very good question. So we use two terms in the global lingo. One is called digital public infrastructure. That's like DigiLocker, Aadhaar, ONDC, CoWIN. All these are national sort of infrastructure. It doesn't have to be national, it can be state infrastructure also. But a runtime, developers know, technologists know runtime. There is a runtime, instantiated runtime about that DPI. It's called DPI, on which actual production transactions can happen. Okay, think of that way. Then another terminology is called DPGs. Yesterday, I think Microsoft person was here. Okay, so she would have probably talked about DPGs, digital public goods. Digital public goods are defined in such a way that they are open source assets, passive, like code. Code lying in GitHub is not an infrastructure. Code lying is a good, it's goods, right? It can be used to instantiate an infrastructure. So Sunbird is a DPG which allowed you to instantiate something like Diksha, or something like Mission Karmayogi, I got, and many other Sunbird related, or Sunbird RC as a code is DPG, and when you instantiate or put it under CoWIN, it becomes DPI for the nation. But the good thing about this separation is this. Why do we need DPGs? Because we take it for granted. Our IT might, India's, okay? We have number of engineers, look at all of you, right? Number of engineers who can do. When we travel to African countries and when we do all that thing, we realize the gap, the IT skill set is much to be design, architecture, and we are shamelessly dreaming in India, right? With Digital India, because we have a belief in this country now set in. We pride ourselves, we believe that we are progressing, we are doing well, and so there is a positive belief that is setting in, which allows us to do even more things, crazy stuff like ONDC, right? That's what. Today we have Bill Gates' presentation about ONDC, and we are not even sure whether he'll get it, frankly, okay? Because it's so cutting edge, it's really hard for people to get, what are you trying to do? What is this decentralized mobility? How does it work, right? When we did a Microsoft presentation, they were so blown away. They said, oh yeah, why didn't we think, oh, this actually could work, right? And they say, yeah, we are already booking Yatri app, we are already doing it, right, in India. So DPGs, if you build DPIs in the country, like a monolithic code, like DigiLocker is an example, where DigiLocker team only wrote that code, but they never put out the code as a DPG. When we can separate the assets behind the DPI, what are the type of assets? Open specifications and protocol could be an asset. Code itself, software itself is an asset. Various code bases. Content could be an asset. In the case of learning, I can put open content also. If we can put out assets, open data is an asset, by the way. Data is an asset. So we can put in, not personal data, aggregate data. So if you can put out stuff into the open source domain, they become DPG. Why do we need DPGs? When the more DPGs, quite like open source environment, right? Today, imagine if you didn't have GitHub and open source at all, like the way I was coding, in the early 90s. You have to code everything from scratch. It's stupid actually, including some sorting and all. I said, oh, who writes all this sorting and array? I mean, nobody even writes these days, other than if you are in an MCA class or something, you'll probably do it. But after that, in reality, almost all components are assemblable for you. You can assemble very, very fast because someone else like you has put together the component for you, right? So the rapid assembly means productivity. Extreme speed at which you can produce stuff, which is very, very key. But other countries can't do. If we keep on building these DPIs, or if Thailand keeps building, they're building DPI, Philippines is building, Brazil is building few other DPIs. When they build DPI, but nobody puts out anything, every country has to start all over again if they want to. And we will be surprised, we have countries with 200,000 people, 2 lakh people. That's like this road or something, like Madiwala market here, right? For us. That's like a country. What can they do? They don't have the size and what you call the economy of scale to make stuff happen. So it is important that we package it and make it available. So Sunbird set of building block is a set of DPGs that is in the open source, can be used by anybody in the world to create like Cowin or Diksha or any of those applications that we see in India. If they say, I also want Diksha, they don't need Diksha, they need the assets behind Diksha so that they can do their own Diksha. Because not all contexts are same. Their context in Argentina, or somewhere else could be very, very different context, how they want to learn. But we can give. So Sunbird belong to DPGs. We have many such DPGs. Backend protocol is a DPG. ONDC is a DPI. Aadhaar is a DPI. Now there's a project called MOSIP. MOSIP.io in IIITB, because once Aadhaar was successful, everybody asked, I also want Aadhaar-like system. But you had all of you, and you had all these IT guys who somehow helped you design all these things. So there was an open source project called MOSIP, M-O-S-I-P, MOSIP.io. If you look at it, you will see, and it's adopted in 10 countries today. It was incubated in IIIT Bangalore. Open source. So when you do these open source assets, DPGs, it allows amplification of what you do in other parts of the world for others to adopt. Not only other parts, because Sunbird was out, Mission Karmayogi, which is also a capacity building for bureaucrats. Very, very fast they were able to do it, right? And Ranga was the architect for that. Mission Karmayogi was part of that Sunbird effort. And we have Cowin. Cowin, for example, 2 months, literally took 2 months to write the initial set of Cowin features before Prime Minister launched the vaccination drive. So assembly is faster and cheaper. It's very good, not only in India, but even outside. So that answers the question, why Sunbird? This is why a lot of times when we write Sunbird, you will be surprised. We might have some bugs and all that thing, but which is okay, nothing we can do. But we always think about what's called a generalized design. That's why in the Sunbird community, you don't see much of Diksha specific things or Mission Karmayogi specific thing or Cowin specific thing. You will see very generic discussion because Sunbird is a generalized asset which can be used in many, many places. That's why. Okay? Yeah.
Hi, Pramod.
Okay, last one. Okay, need to go. Yeah.
Great talk as
you
always.
You guys have to start coding also. Yeah.
Great talk as always. Thank you. The question is, India is hosting the G20 currently, and you have been part of a lot of discussions in that. what national opportunity, in DPI, DPG space for the developer community?
Oh yeah, that's an excellent question. Not only developer community, even for companies. That's real economic opportunity right there, right? Is this, post-pandemic, until pandemic, digital is, they'll say digital is the future, digital is coming, like that and all they'll say. Post-pandemic, that's gone. Digital is today, digital is here already, right? Nothing you can do. The pandemic changed the way people felt digital is a good to have to a must have. All countries. That was a forced, unfortunate, but it was forced into the world, right? Literally saying, like demonetization. It happened to us, right? So it was just on the whole of world to re-look at your infrastructure, digital, access, opportunity, everything else, and leverage digital even more to bring resilience to the country. Otherwise, country gets shut down, right? It's very, very dangerous. One more thing happened. Now war is happening. Something else will keep happening, and humans are notorious. We'll keep screwing around. So, and if something will go wrong. So, all climate issues are happening many, many places. So, resilience is a very key. Resilience of society, and you need to have many, many tools, many ways to continue to live. Otherwise, you'll have one way to continue to live it's a non-resilient model. Okay, you will eat the same thing, you will wake up the same thing. It's not a good habit. I actually tell my children that way. You keep changing habit because you can be resilient, like cockroach. Doesn't matter. You put in here, you can keep living. Okay, it's very important. You don't know what's going to hit you. It's very, very powerful in my way to bring resilience. So one of the things we are doing is a post-pandemic, entire world is woke up to the idea of DPIs. Digital public infrastructure. You can't tell you the number of DPI conversations, including our own bureaucrats learning what exactly is DPI and all that thing, because we have to tell, we are the presidency, G20 presidency, right? Everyone talking about DPIs, digital public infrastructure, in their own country, which opens up two things, primarily, inclusive development and innovation. UPI gives inclusion because 22 million to 500 million, right? That's what we said. But it also opened up innovation. Like PhonePe didn't even exist before the $10 billion company, right? So people can really ride, when the highways are built, economic opportunity starts happening on the highway, which is what happened to the US. If you look at 60s and 70s, they built massive highways. It completely changed their economic, and UK obviously railroad, primarily for stealing, but later at least they used it for economic opportunities as well. Goods move across the nation through rails, right? So it's very, very powerful to imagine what if it's digital rails, digital highways, DPIs as digital highways. It could create massive innovation. But again, yesterday I was in a panel discussion just before my talk, and there was a Norwegian bureaucrat who was saying that we don't have people. Who is going to support all this digitization? So while we might think ChatGPT is going to automate your part, of course it's going to automate some part of it. Copilot is automating part of it. And this didn't start yesterday. You tab, autocomplete was already coming, and autocomplete became starting to get crazier and crazier. Now autocomplete the whole code, but that's a productivity problem. But somebody has to think, still have to think. And then not only that, quantum of work is not limited. Tech is everywhere. There is no conversation in agriculture, health, anywhere without tech. There is zero conversation, including climate DPIs, climate building tech. Building is the least tech. If you look at it, it's a passive physical assets. Today, with all the buildings lights on, we don't even fully know. Imagine observability, like telemetry and all that thing is built into walls. You can generate energy through walls. Because look at the sun, it's hitting this wall, but wasted energy, right? We don't convert any of this. So people are looking at tech everywhere. What does it mean, tech everywhere? Digital everywhere means massive opportunity for everyone to come. You can do faster coding and get on to the next one because you're not running out of job. I can absolutely tell you. Unless you're really bad at it, okay? Then maybe you shouldn't be doing it anyway. But otherwise, you're really going to do well. because the amount of opportunity is going to be multiplied 100x. While the productivity might also go 100x, the job amount of quantum of work left to do is so high. It's amazing. So I think the opportunity is global, and people 100x opportunities opening up for smart engineers and to build stuff and products also. SaaS products, you should be thinking about all that thing and building it also. Maybe in 3-4 years, who knows, you can even start something of your own. Anything, dream big. It's amazing how much you can achieve. Worst thing you to do is to not believe. That, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm not interested. The worst thing you can do it when you wake up, okay? So believe in what you can do, and the opportunity is enormous. So it's a very much a global opportunity, because nobody can give this kind of amount, what you call resource, young resources in India is just unbelievable, okay? Doesn't mean foreign travel will happen, all that thing. It's not like old days, okay? Because everything is remoted, but work is a huge opportunity. For products also, don't look at only services. Look at products, operations, what you call subscribable services, subscription-based services, complete management services, all that thing you can take on. Massive opportunity. Everybody is going digital, entirely. It's not that doctors can code, thankfully. They have not learned to code yet. Yeah, so you have to code for them. Yeah. All right, thank you. I think we'll wind up. I know. Okay, okay, you guys have to get back to coding. And oh, you have one more question.
Sorry.
What happened to your arm? Too much coding.
Rock climbing.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. I used to be a rock climber. I used to teach rock climbing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love rock climbing. One thing I miss in life is rock climbing. Okay.
Yeah.
So
there's so much rock climbing in Bangalore.
Oh yeah, a lot of
yeah.
Yeah, I'm old. I can't climb. Yeah.
Okay, so quick question. While it's very useful to have a common denominator in terms of infrastructure, which leads to a lot of cohesion that you were talking about, it also tends to lead to monopolizing.
Yeah.
So how do you then solve the problem with questions like, I don't trust the Indian government with my data?
Yeah.
Because now you're consolidated with a common denominator.
We are not consolidating. And in fact, most of our efforts in DPIs is one of the most important design principles of a DPI is decentralization. Very, very decentralized. Account aggregator, if you look at the data, payment, if you look at it, if you look at ONDC, completely peer-to-peer, or Yatri, peer-to-peer, all peer-to-peer decentralized system. So there is no consolidation of data even in India. Okay, centralization is not what the design pattern is. Design pattern is decentralization. Okay, but all the pieces of the puzzle will get digitized at the end of the day. That's what will happen. But when it comes to abroad, if you are offering services to Europe or Africa, you will be forced to adhere to their data protection norms and rules and so on. But the good thing is that there is cloud infrastructure there. You might be able to host it there. You might have to manage it there under GDPR, for example, to make sure everything is okay. But I've seen Indians doing extremely smart way. I mean, we are able to do it. We learn. When there's an opportunity, we learn and do it really well. I mean, there is no difference between, just because you are Indian does have no disadvantage to that, as long as you are aware of the context and architected for decentralization. But if you are an individual, if you are grown as a company, platform, and starting to become monopoly, you should expect anti-competitive moves against you. Quite like FANG companies, big companies, Google, Amazon. People already say they're too big, everything is consolidated, break them up. All those discussions already started. Europe is very much against the big tech, as they call big tech, right? So if you are too large, people won't like you. That's bound to happen, but it's a good problem, I think. Become big, large, then we'll deal with it, right? You can always separate it out, separate companies, like Amazon. People are saying AWS should be a very, very different company from Amazon's supply chain, the commerce side. So people, anti-competitive, Washington, anti-competitive commission. Competitive commission is saying maybe we should break them up. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pramod, first of all, for enlightening us on the access we all have to opportunities and also the responsibility each of us have
Yeah.
in unlocking the opportunities for ourselves and also for
And for other
others.
people.
Yeah, and giving that access to opportunities and the role DPIs and DPGs play in doing the same.
Excellent.